We are going to make mock turkey loaf. Wonderful thing about raw foods is how quick they go together and how easy they are to clean up and how good they taste. You don't have to wait for them generally to be done unless you're dehydrating. And the mock turkey loaf is a really good example of this recipe. It goes together fast, it's easy, and it tastes really good, and it's a nice dish for the upcoming holidays. Thanksgiving is coming. So the first thing we're going to do is 1 cup of cashews. And this is a one appliance dish. All it requires is a food processor.
Oh, food processor we have there, sir.
This happens to be a Black & Decker.
Black & Decker.
Black & Decker. I bought it Friday at Target. It was about $40, I think, $39, something like that.
It has an attachment that allows you to put up drywall too.
That's what I wish. Okay, 1 cup pumpkin seeds. 1/2 cup of Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are wonderful. They have a really good flavor. If you're making something with almonds, you can substitute Brazil nuts.
And they're cheaper, aren't they?
No, I don't think they're cheaper
Than
than
almonds?
almonds. They're pretty much
Also?
on the same level as almonds.
These don't have to be soaked.
Generally, you would soak all your nuts. This recipe calls for them unsoaked before the texture. When I come across a recipe that doesn't tell you to soak the nuts, what I do is I have them soaked ahead of time. I soak them and then I dehydrate them back to a crisp state. Because some recipes need the solid, crisp state for texture. Otherwise, they get too mushy. But generally, you would soak them.
Soaked and then dried.
No, tonight, no. They're just brought here because we don't have a dehydrator here. So they're just right off the shelf nuts. 5 stalks of celery.
By the way, 1 Brazil nut will give you a full day's supply of silicone, which is, or silicon. I think that's the name of the mineral, but it's hard to find that mineral. And that's the one source. You can get a full day's supply just by eating 1 of those.
Such a wealth of information. Okay, the reason I chop these up is I like to have all the pieces of food that I put into the food processor somewhat the same size because it makes it mixing much quicker and easier for the food processor. Is anybody counting how many stocks we did here?
2.
2. Whoops.
It was like sour.
Well, we have this much celery. We think it's 5. 1 scallion, nice large one, the whole thing. Ends and all. 1 teaspoon of sage. Sage is a wonderful spice. 1 teaspoon. It's that Thanksgiving spice. Whenever you smell sage, don't you think about turkey stuffing and from the old days and all that?
Is that dry?
Yeah, this is dried sage. We don't have any fresh right here today. You were asking a question about the use of a food processor. This makes mixing things so much easier. Chopping and mixing just makes it a breeze. I can't imagine doing this, grating and chopping all by hand to get a consistency like you can get. There we go. We have the consistency of a loaf. One thing when you're using a food processor, this particular blade is called the S blade, and it is very, very sharp. It is meant to cut and chop and grind things, and it doesn't care what it cuts. It will cut your fingers if you touch the blades. So I recommend never touching the metal part. You can get away from it.
So, Terri, there's a little bit of controversy on the nuts in the sense that almost every book recommends that you soak them. Okay.
Yes.
But in some other places I read on almonds, for example, that the little skin on the outside contains some antioxidants. I don't know what they call them. So if you soak them, are you losing those things?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't know why you would.
I don't know why you would, because you're
Because
just,
that leaches into the water.
I have actually not heard that before, and no, I don't have an answer for that.
The Ann Wigmore Institute, they actually take the skins off. But then I've heard there's something good in it too. I've heard
Right.
mixed. I've heard mixed.
I've heard mixed reports that there's good things in the skin, so you leave them on. Theirs are a little
Especially if
low.
they're organic.
See how easy that was to form into a loaf?
Do you have to chew that when you eat it?
Well, we're going to put it in the fridge. It's going to set up a little bit, but it's soft when you eat it. I'm going to do a quick rinse out of this, and we'll make the cranberry sauce.
You know, the great thing about these cranberries is they still have the seeds in it. So when you eat these, you'll get the benefit of the seeds, which is where most of the nutrition is. And so many of our fruits today are hybridized, they don't have the seeds. Like raisins have been so hybridized you can't get raisins that have seeds. You can, but it's hard, really hard. Most places don't stock them. But these have the seeds, so if you can eat cranberries, you're getting the benefit of the seeds. And like grapeseed oil is so full of antioxidants and such.
The recipe calls for honey, which I don't use because I'm vegan. So a good substitute for honey is agave. And this is raw agave. It's very, very sweet. And you could substitute it pretty much for the same measurement as honey. Sometimes you use a little more of this, but pretty much you can use the same measurement. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of agave, just to take, okay. Ready for noise? This one's noisy. Now, doing this at a blender, you end up with a little bit more of a saucy type material. We're ending up with more of a relish type material, but it's all right. We're still going to put it on top of our loaf. Press down too hard because your loaf is pretty soft. If you make additional cranberry relish to put on the top, that's it. You put it in the fridge to set up for about an hour, get it a little bit more firm. And then when you take it out, you decorate it, and you're ready to put it on the table. That's as quick as this goes. You could. It's almost a pate type consistency. You could, or you can slice it when it firms up a little. You can actually slice it.